So, good evening, Marco, and welcome to Design Dialogues hosted by Fublis. This is your host, Bhavya, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Marco Visconti, the founder of MV Architects in Italy. Just to give a brief introduction to your studio, founded by Marco in 2007, MV Architects is a leading architecture firm specializing in sustainable and human centric design. With a strong foundation in architecture and engineering, the firm integrates energy efficient solutions and passive design strategies to create innovative, environmentally responsible spaces. MV Architects continue to push the boundaries of sustainable design, redefining modern architecture with a commitment to innovation and environmental leadership. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Marco.
Thank you and to your organization because I really believe in the fact that your interview will be something important, both for you and for us. Every time when we study to give the right answers is a way to give an overview of what we had done. And this was the key. So it is important, and thank you.
So before starting the questions, I would like to inform you that this interview will be published on the website of Fublis. So sign up with the Fublis website and you'll get the access to watch this interview. So shall we proceed with the questions, Marco?
Yes, you can start.
So first question for the day, Marco. Your practice emphasizes on sustainability and the harmonious relationship between the man, building, and the nature. So how do you balance aesthetic expression with the need for passive energy saving solutions in your designs?
So, to give an answer to your question, I have to start with the real aesthetic expression, as you said, in our projects. Because every single project is directly related to an overall design strategy. And sustainability is obviously a part of this strategy. Even if the sustainability approach or the sustainable approach is something that combines the principles that are defined in an overview system, in an overall system that combines different levels. So this aesthetic that is not just putting together elements, but is the coherence between the elements that we put together to provide for our design, is something that changes from time to time. Mainly because the context and the relation between the building and the nature changes every time. So we follow that. But also we follow the real need of the client. Clients could need something that is mainly directed to function, and other clients they need something that is directed to their image, to their way of conceiving life, of conceiving their business. So this is something that we consider every time. And this is the way for us to provide different concepts and different conceptual systems every time.
Perfect, Marco, perfect. So, talking about the project, the new Ferrari restaurant, the design of this project is inspired by the passive architecture and the aerodynamics, creating a very dynamic interplay between the form and the function in the building. So, what were the main challenges in translating this aerodynamic concept into architecture elements, and how did they influence and, implement the overall spatial experience of that project?
So to relate the second question to the first one, I would say that in that case, Ferrari needed to have both a sustainable building and a very expressive building. So function expresses a sculpture, defined sculpture, that became a symbol for Ferrari. And I have to say that in that case, we have been right to provide this symbol because this building is the building where all the employees, they go, 7,000 employees, they go every day for eating and for combining their experiences and have a common point of view of how the work could be changed or could be improved. And so this is not just a restaurant. This is a common area where ideas are contained. So for this reason, we used a sculptural shape. This sculptural shape comes from the idea of aerodynamics, as you said, and started from the overlapping of two real pieces, two small sculptures. They were not sculptures, they were testing elements of helicopter wings. When I was young, here in Turin, there was an important fair about helicopters and airplanes. So when I went there and I was interested in those technical parts, they gave to me those two sections of helicopter wings. They were very expressive. So I kept them for years and years. In the end, I used them as the first principle of this building. So these helicopter wings, this portion of helicopter wings has the shape of a fish. And the inside of the wing is very technical, very technological. So cardboard done in vertical layers provides the wing to hold the vertical weight. The outside skin is very strong, done with carbon fiber. And the other element, the specific element of the front wing are done with an extrusion of aluminum and stainless steel. So putting together all this, and every single piece has a strong meaning, a strong technical meaning, is something that told us a story. So we wanted to have an architecture that had a strong meaning with the main elements together, working together very coherently. So going back to these portions of wings, we use them, the first one in the base in vertical position, and the second one overlapping the first one in horizontal position, like a flying position. So this became our architecture and gave to us the possibility to define a formal shape. This formal shape is something that you can see in the pictures, and the formal shape gave the rule of sustainability because of the energy production, of natural ventilation, and the real use of the building for the people, because this is a very flexible building that can be used as a restaurant, both as a restaurant and as a conference center. And we had been able to provide this sense of unity that is good for the feeling of the employees.
Marco, this project emphasizes also on the bioclimatic design and also the passive design, optimizing the solar exposure and the natural shading. So, could you share some of the innovative strategies that you have applied or the technologies that you've employed to enhance energy efficiency while maintaining comfort and the aesthetic appeal of the overall project?
Yeah. Well, going back to this system, the system is a volumetric system, so the volumes, but is also a system done with roof, facades, and in the outer context of this architecture. So facades are east and west facades. So if we consider that the building is used during lunchtime, those facades are completely transparent because we don't need to have a sunscreen, a sun protection on them. And this was maybe the first thing that we thought for the orientation of the building itself. So the real wing is a south-facing. So the shape of the wing can host the photovoltaics on this sort of roof that we have. We have described the facade, and also we can say that we know that this building is a 3 levels building. So the main part is the 3rd level, the real place where the people stay for the lunch or for the conference. But the other 2 levels, the first level and the second level, are something that they can use as a combined office to provide mutual help between the factory and the employees. So those 2 levels are used to keep high, to raise the main one, right? And this was perfect for the natural ventilation. So the natural ventilation is done because of this intersection and this overlapping of different functions that in the end can provide the general sculptural element that we wanted to describe in the first.
So, Marco, talking about the overall portfolio, your career journey has spanned of working with Renzo Piano, one of the leading architects all over the world. So, talking about the Fiat Engineering's architecture group before founding the MV Architects. So, how has your experiences shaped your design philosophy while working on your own studio, particularly in relation to sustainability and the human-centered design?
Yes. Thank you again for this question. But I would start when I was a student. Sustainability has always been my passion. As you know, I'm first an engineer, civil engineer, and my second degree is in architecture. So the energy questions, the construction questions, and the sustainable materials is something that I started to study when I was a kid in university. And so this was my passion. And just because of a case, I could find the possibility to meet Renzo Piano here in Turin and to ask to him if he would ever need a collaborator as me. So because of these passions, he said, yes, okay, come to visit us. We went to Genova to show what I have done in my studies, and he wanted me to stay there in his office. I was prepared about the work on sustainability that Renzo Piano was starting to do at that time, a lot of years ago. I'm not young anymore, unfortunately. I was lucky enough to enter with a big coherence in the projects, in part of the project that the office was doing in those years. So I had the opportunity to expand my vision and to test in big scale on national and international level. So this was a fantastic school that I attended as a designer for a couple of years. After that experience, I came back to studies because I wanted to accept a fellowship at UCLA in California. So I attended there 2 years, other 2 years of definition of a master about sustainable design. After that experience, I accepted to become an employee and later the director of Fiat Engineering. So in Fiat Engineering, I had the real opportunity to apply what I have learned, both at Renzo Piano's and at school at UCLA, in big scale projects. So this was a very, very lucky situation where a lot of young colleagues with me were in the position to really apply sustainability, even if sometimes this was not asked by the client. We have done that without putting a special effort on the economics. We have done that in a very good way to keep the costs at the level that they were years later. The first building that I have done, for a very big building that I have done, is a factory in Memphis, another 6,000 people. So this factory contains, again, the main principles of our concepts, and still now works very well, and is something that I'm very proud to have done. Later, I opened my office, and in my office, I started to work at two levels, on the real projects and on theoretical projects, to try to make real this always different theory that I had in my mind. So still now we have the possibility to work on big scale real projects, and we have the possibility to work on competitions where every competition for us, either we win it or we don't, is a way to experiment those conceptual coherence, said again, either for a sculpture or for something that is completely hidden in the nature, for example. It depends. Every time the building must be very flexible, and flexibility for us is the way to look at the future.
Talking about the Zucchetti Tower. So this tower is enveloped with the sinus net structure inspired by the brain waves, symbolizing the intellectual work, which is a very unique concept, I must say. So how did you translate this abstract type of concept into a very functional architecture element, and what impact does it have on the building's overall spatial experience as a visitor?
Yes, so Zucchetti Tower was a very peculiar work that I have done directly relating with the president of this company. Zucchetti company is a software house, the biggest one in Italy. As we know, a software house has to work on innovation every day. They have to innovate every day, otherwise their market is that one, is innovation. So the brain and the expertise of the collaborators and the workers and the employees is something that gave to me the possibility to express as an idea. So Zucchetti bought an existing tower in London. This existing tower is something that was quite straightforward, quite ugly. So we decided to keep the tower, the structure of the tower, defining a new world of systems, of elements that became the new architecture. First of all, we were able to cut the corners in plan of this tower to have the possibility to provide for a round shaped facade. As I said, we started from a square shaped facade. So cutting that elements was also the way for us to use the surface of those elements, adding some floors. So this new facade was the real symbol of this building. The facade is done with two layers. The first one, glass, and the second one is the sun protection. The sun protection is a sort of chrysalis in our mind. This chrysalis is the white natural system that we wanted to define with metal tubes that are arranged in the space in a way that is completely natural because is related to sun path. So this chrysalis follows the sun path, and the micro shape of the chrysalis is something that is directly related to the geometry of the movement of the sun around the tower. This gave to us the possibility to expand the space too. Because when you are inside and you have the feeling of this natural shape that is very complex and protective, the real feeling of the space is not a space that finishes with the window, but is a space that is expanding. From the psychological point of view, this is something that worked very well. So this is a sun protection, but it is also a way to express the protection that the Zucchetti firm likes to give to the very important people that they work for.
So, Marco, this tower enhances the urban landscape while maintaining a strong connection to the surrounding natural environment. So, how did you approach the site context to ensure that the building's form and function harmoniously coexist and coherent the river natural park?
Yeah, so the tower is a part on the perimeter of the Ada River National Park. It belongs to this park in three ways. The first one is the connection of the bike lanes and the walking path. The walking path, they cross the tower, they go in the direction of the tower, the walking lane, the same. The second level is described by this suspended natural garden that we built under the tower. This natural garden is being built also to cover a parking lot that was facing before the park and now is completely hidden. So we hide this park with nature and with water, with something that gave to us the possibility to give to the municipality, to the people, a new green area. It was either a way to say this is something directly related to the tower. So the tower starts from the nature. But it was also a way to give a new piece of park to the surrounding environment and to the residential parts. The third element is the tower itself, because the tower itself is a natural shape that belongs to the park. So we also can consider this tower as a sort of natural tree. That is one of the trees, of the big trees that we can find not far from them, from there.
So your studio's biometric approach towards the design philosophy is rooted in the environmental respect and the resource efficiency. So could you share some of the specific strategies or innovations that you have developed over the years to optimize the energy performance while enhancing the human comfort?
Yeah, another important question, because this is maybe the main part of our work. So human comfort depends on volumes mutual relations. I tried to explain this before. Volumes, they work together with the building shell design. So facade, roof, mainly facades and roof, are something that give to us the possibility to put together the inside to provide for this overall system that we create and we call the concept of the building. So this is mainly a passive approach that always put together transparency and solid part of the facade. And this is also a coherent system. So this coherent system is something that is drawn by wellness, by well-being inside, mainly because the passive approach is something directly related to nature with no waste of energy. Passive approach doesn't waste any energy. Passive approach can be completed by the energy production systems. But the passive approach is the first step, according to our way to conceive the building. So, in this way, to finish this question, the inside and the outside are directly related. So, the passive approach again is a grammar that we follow to be sure that the project is correct.
The renovation of Palazzo Nuovo's three large halls that respects the building modernist heritage while introducing the contemporary elements. So how do you balance preserving the original architecture identity while updating the spaces for modern functionality and the accessibility?
Yes, this is the last work that is under construction now, and this is the main conference room in town, in Turin now. And it comes from the renovation of a part of this very big university building. We call it Palazzo Nuovo in Turin, designed by the architect Levi in the 68. So I have to say that this is still the most important model built in the center of a town that is not very modern, historical part. So this building had always been very controversial. The people really didn't understand it too much, mainly because of the fact that there is this cantilevering elements that contains this conference center. Cantilevering elements from from first floor to second floor, cantilevering outside in the direction of the walking path of the walking areas, public walking areas, so very important, is something that now we are defining as the final project. So those volumes are very peculiar. Our choice was not to test the volumes, the real volumes, but to work on them with new facades and new roof. So the expression of the facades is very modern, is very new, and also gives the expression of the relation between inside and outside. So the main facade is a long and thin facade, is protected by peculiar louvers, very bright elements, and the rest of all the volume is covered with new stainless steel elements and corrugated steel facade and a corrugated steel roof. So the rest is something that is painted in dark gray to try to minimize the impact of these existing volumes. We have used similar concepts outside and inside. So the inside keeps the existing volumes, but the materials are completely new. We are talking about new false ceilings, wooden false ceilings, wooden walls, inner walls. And we are very proud to say that also a big part of the existing armchairs that had been designed by architect Levi, they are still original and they work, is something that we will renovate, we will adapt to the new use, but this is something that will remain in different colors, but will remain as an original drawing. So this circular economy fact is something that for the first time, according to my knowledge, here as a cultural expression, we are using it in a public space. Also, we have to say that the inner part are had been revised for the circularity of the use of the conference room. So we have new decks, small decks that are integrated with the existing sloping and stepping floors of the conference room. And those new decks are a new part that I think will give new dimension and new dynamics to the inside, respecting the existing again.
Marco, this project also reconfigures the stepped classrooms into improving the usability, including the addition of the side balconies for the disabled access. So, what were the key challenges in enhancing accessibility while maintaining the architecture identity of the existing structure?
Yes, the new decks are related to the balconies. So those balconies are designed to allow mobility, and their shape are carefully, as I said, integrated with the step rooms and floors. And again, I'm proud to say that those new balconies will give a variety of new spaces that are, and their dynamics will be coherent with the existing spaces of the inside of the rooms.
So, Marco, moving to the last question for the day. So, looking ahead at the evolving role of architecture in today's world, what do you believe the most important responsibility architects have towards society? And how does your studio, MV Architects, strive to fulfill this in every project that they achieve?
Yeah, the work of the architect is very complicated and the responsibility is very strong. So in our work, we try to give an answer to people's real needs, and their long-term desires. We are against this sort of architecture that only express desires, right? Because we think that this is not enough in our case. In that case, the responsibility is not well driven. So when we say long-term designs, I mean long-term constancy of use, and this is something that can really provide to the real elements of our work. We are here to give an expression to functions, and those functions, every time they are combined to people's desires, putting together those two elements is our effort. More practically, what can we do? We normally provide for strong flexibility to the building. So in this way, we can say that the functions will change very easily. Obviously, we know that in our changing times, this is the first step for the building and for the sustainable use of it. So this approach is something that is natural driven and is completely integrated with both the existing building system that surrounds the building and the natural system that surrounds the building. So as we said, this is something that changes every time. But again, this is the rules. This is the rules that give the sense of rightness to our work. So beauty becomes in that way a part of human wellness. And this is something that gives the strong relation between inside and outside. Wellness comes from inside, but when you look at the building from outside, you have to have the feeling of it. So I have to say our work is quite a complicated one, But in the end, the structure, the function, and the real, the final effect is something that is quite easy to be reached because of the experience, because of the feeling that we have about the building and the people who will live in. So the result is, according to me, is a timeless architecture, very important, driven by reality, by beauty, by feelings, and by future dreams. Thank you.
Marco, what a beautiful answer. The perfect way to end the interview.
Thank you.
So that was the last question for the day, Marco. Thank you so much for giving your precious time. It was a pleasure to have you here, and don't forget to sign up with the Fublis website. Thank you so much, Marco.
Thank you very much.